Shalom, this is Yair Davidiy from Brit-Am movement of the 10 tribes of Israel, speaking to you from Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. We are now continuing our discussion concerning the lost 10 tribes and concerning especially the tribe of Ephraim that we identify with the British and the British descendant people such as Australia, New Zealand, Canada and related nations, whereas their brother nation in the USA we identify as Manasseh, and we have talks on this. We have talks giving our proofs for this and discussing this concerning Manasseh and also concerning Ephraim, and this is one of a series of talks in the connection with Ephraim. Out of the 7 major proofs that we brought proving that Ephraim is now to be found as exemplified, as personified by the British and the British related peoples, one of the proofs is the connection to the bull. The bull was a symbol of Ephraim. The bull is also a symbol of the British, or the British nation. We have John Bull. We have the very name England. England is derived from the word aegel, another form which was aegel, and both aegel and aegl are different ways of pronouncing the Hebrew word aegel, which means bull calf. Bull calf, according to Jeremiah and according to Jewish tradition, was another name for Ephraim. Ephraim was known as an aegl or an angli. And we'll go into this a little bit more, very briefly. The very blessing of Joseph that was given to him by Moses, as we find in Deuteronomy 33:17 in Hebrew, it says, B'chor shuro hadalo, which roughly translated directly from the Hebrew original, maybe his firstborn is the bull who shall give him glory. This is translated in most versions, his glory is like a firstborn bull, which is close enough but not exact. His glory is like a firstborn bull, and his horns like the horns of the wild ox, and together with him he shall push the peoples to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000 of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh, as we see in Deuteronomy. So this is how it is translated in English. The English version does not give a full measure of the true import of the Hebrew original. We would roughly render the Hebrew original as saying something like along the following lines. His firstborn is in bull, will be represented by a bull who shall give him glory. His horns are horns of the unicorn. Together they shall butt the peoples to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, or the hundreds of thousands and millions of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. We recognize the fact that Manasseh was predicted to have less of a population than Ephraim. Ephraim was to be very numerous, whereas Manasseh was to number just the 10. So our understanding is that Ephraim, as well as being amongst the British and the British descendant peoples or the British associated peoples, numerically, Ephraim is also very prominent, very strong, very strongly represented numerically amongst the population of the USA, but nevertheless the USA is dominated by Manasseh. Manasseh has given his characteristics to the USA, and therefore the USA may be considered the nation of Manasseh, and we've spoken on this matter in our talks concerning Manasseh. Manasseh, according to the Midrash, was represented by a unicorn, whereas Ephraim was represented by a bull. And we also have John Bull. John Bull is a name, is a nickname that the British associate to themselves, or associated to them by others. The prophet Jeremiah, if you look at Jeremiah 31:18, it says, I was surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself, you've chastened me, and was chastened like an untrained bull. Destroy me, and I will return, for you are the Lord my God. So here we have Jeremiah placing in the mouth of Ephraim is its comparison, comparing himself to an untrained bull. In Hebrew, a bull, the word used for bull is aegl. According to Rashi, the famous commentator, Aegl was a nickname for Ephraim, and so too, the simple meaning of the verse also lends itself to this. Aegl is another name for Ephraim, and Aegl in ancient Hebrew could be translated as angle or angle, and we have the Angles who, together with the Jutes and the Saxons, invaded England, England. They invaded Britain, they established the country of England. England is named after an Aegl land. They gave their name to the whole country because also the Saxons and the Jutes who invaded the country with them also considered themselves Angles, or allowed themselves to be presupposed or presumed under the name Aegl. So England is named Aegl, and Aegl in the Hebrew original could be considered another term, another form of the word Aegl. Also, we find in the continent in the south amongst Germanic peoples who spoke the languages that gave rise to English, to the English language. The word Aegl could also be pronounced as Aegl, or Aegl was a nickname, a diminutive for an Aegl, for someone who belonged to the Aegl people. So at all events, Aegl and Aegl were interchangeable words, both in the original Hebrew and in the tongue that the Angles spoke when they invaded the land of England. There were interchangeable words, and in Hebrew the word means a bull calf or young bull, and in English tradition, a bull, or the name John Bull, came to represent them, and this was later extended to the whole of the British people. So we have these proofs identifying Ephraim with a bull, and England being identified with a bull. Even the very name Ephraim, Hiphrani, made me fruitful, as it's correctly translated. Joseph gave the name Ephraim to his son in Egypt, because God has made me fruitful, Hiphrani, in the land of my affliction. And in Hebrew, a certain word may have more than one meaning, and this is deliberately so, not by coincidence. A certain word may be chosen in favour of another, in place of another. A certain word may be chosen because it has several connotations. And this is known, this is accepted by Hebrew exegetes, by Hebrew commentators, by Jewish commentators on the Hebrew Bible, by people who know Hebrew. This is an accepted phenomenon. So therefore the very name Ephraim could also be explained to me, who made me like a bull. Made me as strong and powerful as a bull. It also connotes powerful, power in Hebrew. Power also meaning a bull. And so we have England, the English having named themselves John Bull. English have named themselves after the Angles. The Angles have been called also Aegls, and both Aegl and Aegl in Hebrew meaning young bull. So we have a relationship between England and this idea of a bull, and on the one hand, and between a bull and Ephraim on the other. The Midrash says, I repeat, the Midrash says that based on the Hebrew verses of the Bible, that the bull was a symbol for the tribe of Ephraim. When they came out of Egypt and they camped around the tabernacle in the wilderness, each tribe had its own symbol, and the symbol of Ephraim was a bull. And in English, iconism, whatever you call the popular depictions of cartoons, the English depict themselves as a person known as John Bull. That is a popular name for England, similar to Uncle Sam. And usually John Bull is depicted as shown as a person similar to Winston Churchill, incidentally. But they chose the figure of John Bull long before Winston Churchill came along. And even so, he's a little bit fat, he's short, but he's pugnacious, and he has a hat, usually has a hat, and he is good-natured, and he is prepared to take on the world for his own sake and for the sake of principles that he believes in. This is how John Bull is usually depicted. In some cases, John Bull is depicted as a human being with the head of a bull, or as a bull, or as the bull animal itself. That is another way, as how in popular cartoons, political cartoons, the British people depicted themselves. They depicted themselves as either this person known as John Bull, or as a human being with the head of a bull, or as a real bull. And the illustrations may be seen, and so this is another factor identifying or serving to equate the British people with the idea of Ephraim, with the concept of Ephraim, with the fact that they are to a good degree descended from Ephraim, and the tribe of Ephraim gave rise to them and imprinted the tribal characteristics upon them. And in biblical terms, they may well be identified with Ephraim because that is what they are. That is who they are. They're descended from on the whole. Thank you very much. This is Yair Davidiy speaking to you from Jerusalem, capital of Israel. I've been speaking to you on behalf of Brit-Am movement of the 10 tribes of Israel. The beliefs of the 10 tribes now are to be concentrated in Western peoples, not only in the British Isles, but for different sections of Western Europe, and also amongst their offshoots in the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and other areas. Thank you. God bless all of you.